on the gavel, so, but I have a loud voice. So I'm calling this joint council and township board meeting to order, and I would like everybody to stand, pledge allegiance. Our flag is right behind us, please. Turn around. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We need a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Support. We got a motion and support. The motioner was Joe and the supporter was Julie. You bet. Were there any concerns, questions on the agenda, on the minutes? Being none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
This is approval of the agenda. Oh, shoot. Yeah, I'm just because we usually don't do that. So, approval of the agenda. We're all good. No questions, concerns. Being none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Now, approval, I need a motion for the approval of the minutes from the April 22nd, 27th, 2017 joint meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Support.
I have support. I have any questions or concerns? The support was. Being none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Public comment. Is there anybody who would like to speak this evening?
Yes. She wants me to go over there.
That's fine. Your name and address, please.
Ed, 7212 Porter Road, Grand Blanc. You know, I attended the last April 27th meeting, okay? And we've had 2 months, and I think what we've gone over is money. And hopefully we've all come to the conclusion that Carl is probably pretty close to right. So, yeah, but I really want to get to the real problems, not problems, things we have, issues we have. We need to set the ground rules for the future. Today is not the real problem. The money's not the real problem. We're fooling ourselves that the split's going to remain 15/85. And then we talk it's really 80/20. What is the split? Whatever you pay into the fire department, regardless of who you are, that percentage you pay in is the percentage you should own, have responsibility for the liabilities, the service, the representation on the commission, and so on. Whatever you're paying in, that's the part you should own and have. What's important is our operating agreement. The money will take care of itself, in my opinion. So we need a vision for the future and the growth in the township. Then the city. It's the future we're worried about. Thank you.
Appreciate that. No other public comment? If not, we will move on to the presentation of the fire task force. First, we will have Chief Burdett and Treasurer Carl Heiser do their presentation.
Okay. In front of you, hopefully everyone has a copy of the millage projections for the Grand Blanc Fire Department, 2019 through 2028. So if I could just briefly go through this, and we'll be explaining a lot more of it later on. The booklet's basically broken up into 3 different sections. Pages 1, 2, and 3 in your book deal with real or personal property for the fire department or the individual entities, the government entities. Pages 1 and 2 are a breakdown of the expenditures, broken down by the station numbers. And then the fold-out page 3 is actually a breakdown of the same information, only done by the individual that we're looking at to pay. Later on in the agenda, we have it down to discuss this, so I'm not going to talk about this very much. We'll come back to this later on. Pages 4, 5, and 6 deal with capital equipment that the fire department needs to operate over the next 10 years. So pages 4 and 5, again, is the format of breaking it down by the type of equipment that's necessary and the years that it's going to be purchased in, and then with the estimated cost. Page 6 is a spreadsheet showing the same information as the ones being purchased, what year, from 2017 on through 2028.
Let's see if there's any questions, Chief.
Sure.
I don't have any, but
I know it's really quick that we're starting to go through this, but I want to get to the cash flow for probably speed. The last column that we have on this spreadsheet, or under future purchases, is a key number that we need to remember. It's $3,512,226. That'll be purchased, that we have projections past the 10-year millage. What we're talking about here. Right now, our present expenditures over the next 10 years, we're looking at to be annually $361,393 that we're going to need to operate and purchase capital equipment for those 10 years. Page 7 is the internal expenditures minus the capital. So this is the operating, this is the fuel, this is the vehicle insurance, vehicle repairs. This page also does this depreciation. It includes a capital outlay for personal property. So in other words, the capital that the $15,000 that the city has asked to be used at any station, I understand that. We bumped it up an additional $5,000 in for 2019 or 2017 is 2,000 or 20,000. An additional 418 we just went up from there using the 1.5, I believe was the multiplier. 2%. 2%? So that's what the capital outlay is, and that's for the station use. It does not work, or it is not part of the capital equipment. We go on to page 8. These are the general fund expenditures for personnel. The top line or top section of the form is for 5 full-time firefighters. That includes the fire chief. We're not trying to add anybody. It's the 4 full-time staff that we had when we started up the village back in 2010. And then the fire chief, so we just rounded up and just made it 5, try to clear up any issues that we had there. Leaving the 35 part-time firefighters, giving us a total staff of 40 firefighters. As you can see, we have the total staffing figures in there. Starting in 2019, we're looking at $926,845.
962.
962, I'm sorry. We go on down below that. Now that is the non-staffing expenses. This is the training, uniforms, building utilities, township bills, payroll processing, audit, miscellaneous items. That's an additional $182,000. So in 2019, we're looking at a total expenditures to the general fund of $1,144,993, just for the general fund. We add back in our capital needs. That's the equipment that we need to purchase. It's $394,005. Give us total expenditures there, $1,538,998. We are expensive, we know that. 2 million. That's a 2% annual increase on that. Page 9 is really just a summary page of all this. What we're projecting over the next 10 years is the fire department over that 10-year period will need $20,565,740 to operate, as we are today for 10 years from now. So that would break it down annually to be a little over $2,056,740. Today, our budget is $1,312,256. $1,312,256. Significantly lower. We're at a shortfall of $744,484. Annual. With that, pages 10, 12 through 13, I'm sorry, 10, 11, 12, those are additional items that We're there to support some information that the mayor and the other council members have requested. So, for example, page 10 is dealing with book value depreciation. Just where are we at today? What's the present market value on the trucks? Try to look at maybe if there's some trucks that might be able to be sold. We didn't find anything. Page 11 deals with vehicle repairs. And then page 12 was the breakdown of last year's run volume by the actual incident type. So page 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, I'm going to turn that over to Carl. Go ahead and talk about that, Carl.
What I promised at the last meeting earlier this week is I would do what I call a statement of cash flows for the 10-year period. And this is page 13, should be enclosed in your packet. It's an 8.5 by 11. This was in addition to the package that was originally distributed. This is what it looks like.
You say page 13 in the bottom right corner?
Yes. Yes. Followed by page 14. Should I go forward here? I can't sit down here. Okay. I got a couple of notes. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. What I did here is I developed a cash, what I call cash usage, source of cash and use of cash, based on the information provided on the original documentation that is in that bound folder. On the very top left-hand corner, you're going to see general fund. In other words, we have designated contributions. I'm using the word designated. You can find this on page 8. I'm not going back to page 8. But you'll see that the numbers starting in 2019, 20, 21, all the way across are identical to what was on page 8 in my previous presentation. The total contributions that we are looking for 2000 through 2028, this is for contributions for capital fund of $3,610,036. Okay, the next line, this is in the internal fund and a source of funds. This is, GAAP. This is CPA put together as part of your annual reports. You'll see them in your annual reports. We're taking depreciation in the internal fund, which is on page 7, and you'll see going across, starting with 2019. Starting in 2019, 181,913. The numbers go all the way across. So we're expecting and projecting during this period of time depreciation expense of $2,264,203. When you combine those two amounts, those are true cash amounts that will be available, that are set aside for the use of capital purchases. Now the uses of cash, which is going down the next line here, you can see it on page 8. We align this up with our capital needs, and we have some very desperate capital needs because we had a shortfall that we're carrying forward. So we have for 2019, we're projecting absolute capital needs of $889,496. We agree on that number?
Yep.
Okay. Well, we had to carry over. We're underfunded in 2019, so we're short $313,578. And if you look at the next year, 2028, you're going to look at this that we have what I call, because we only have $46 in use. That year we're we have over 559,000. So there's going to have to be a balance of commitment and funding between the 2 years. 2021, this is our capital equipment catching up again that we have scheduled to purchase, and you have it all on page 6. It's $1,457,106. So our first 3-4 years are going to be very, very brutal. So we're going to have close to a $900,000 shortage. And then in 2022, based on our projected, reasonably close projections, I see that we have 20,612 commitments, and that then gives us a overage available funds of 603,682, and then starting in 2023, we end up with a surplus of 485, and then you can see the next year there's another heavy purchase there of 163,061. This is all part of requirements. This is part of the National Fire Protection Association standards. And so as you can see, as we get to near the end of the year, at the end of the millage at 26, 27, 28, we're projecting what we know today. We do have projected extra funds, and then those extra funds can very easily be used for additional equipment that is scheduled for replacement, because in 2029 and 30 and 31, we have to make commitments next 3 years into the new millage to acquire this new equipment. And the new equipment is the emergency equipment vehicles, and they're again on all your schedule, page 6. So this is part of a financial plan that we were looking at here, without you having to go back and dig into pages 6, 7, and 8 here. Any comments further on that, Chief, you want to make?
No other comments?
Could you mention that we currently have a fund balance also?
Yeah, in 17 we do, yes.
Right, so going
Into 19, I'll tell you, I really expect the fund balance at the end of 17 and at the end of 18, because our contribution in the internal fund is only going to be about $187,000. There will be some left over, but I can't calculate what that's going to be at this point in time. But we will have some fund balance available. I don't want to project. I'm just looking at, what I'm trying to do here is show you, starting with the village, what the source and use of the funds are. Okay, and 13. Chief, any comments on that?
No other comments?
Okay. Yes.
Real quick, how many years are you using to depreciate this?
The equipment? Yeah. 20 years, correct?
20-year life cycle for vehicles. For the fire trucks themselves. Support vehicles are 6, and then from there on, other equipment may be 10, could be 5, could be 6. It's all on that schedule. It's on page 6.
Okay.
My conclusion here is that the 2019-2028 cash flow source and use of funds are based on departmental budget combined expense projections of $20,565,740. And I indicate that you can find the information on page 6, 7, and 8, which I already said. It has been noted 1 budget year or more may have a shortage fund and then after next year a surplus to convert yet to another capital project. So where we are short in 1 year, as I said, in 2019, 2020, the amount, it comes back again to a positive number here. The millage expense, again, this is based on my schedule of for the 10-year period is $20,585,740. It remains unchanged. We request the city and township to move forward for placement on this. I'm looking at the 2018 ballot, whatever we arrive on here for millage. What's unclear to me and other people, if we were going to put this on the ballot for 18 or 19. Anyone comment on that?
I think we'll wait for that. That's coming up later in the agenda.
Oh, okay. Then
And
that's
we
fine.
just want your presentation and then the cities, and then we will
Okay, that's fine.
continue that for discussion's sake.
Okay.
Okay?
Then I think I got the final report that came in late. today here.
Right.
We send it out individual here. So what I guess what I wanted to look at is what was the performance and how is the millage working for the city and the township in the past, and what has been perhaps things that we want to learn from and are correct. What we have really are going to be the two-page narrative and then history of the city of Grand Blanc, you know, with their from 2098 all the way through 2017, and also the townships from 1994.
Carl, I think there's some confusion on which page we're on. We're on page
Starting on
15.
page 15.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay. 15, 16, and 17.
Yes, 15, 16, 17, and then the, okay. If you have just a page 50, what I call the page 15.
That's your summary.
Yeah, that's a summary, and the 16 and 17 are simply the schedules that were provided from the city and the township. So let me, 15 is the summary. Am I right?
That's all. Carl, keep on.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I talked about the history. The history of the city of Grand Blanc from 2009 to 2017. The SED and the taxable value board of review are enclosed. The city's SED values and taxable values since 2008 through 2017. They have decreased in 7 years. In 3 years, they've increased. See the years 2008 through 17. It should be noted the city SEV decreased since 2008 through 17 by $34,488,000. This is a 12% decrease. This is history. The taxable value from the Board of Review in the 2008 decreased $58,664,000. The 2017 taxable value Board of Review is currently $221,551,000. This computes to a 21% loss, since 2008. The property loss values. The property's lost values was the reason. In other words, we all know about the decrease here. Same thing happened at the Grand Blanc Township. Township's SEV and taxable value decreased 5 years and increased at a snail's pace for 5 years. The Township SEV lost $100,332,300 between 2008 and 17. The taxable value Board of Review lost $234,872,104. This is a 60% reduction. In order to resolve the complex issues that are facing the city and the township, and I'm just giving my opinion here, which I am fully committed to, I recommend a new millage be placed on the 2018 ballot for the city and township and its joint venture agreement, which I have not read. Be stated at, in other words, I'm looking at 0.0015 or the 1.50 millage would eliminate, by putting that on the ballot, and I believe it will pass, would eliminate internal contributions by the city and the township. That's money back to you that you don't have to commit to. The fire commission would count on the millage funding only for the new millage tax collections from 2019 to 2028. This proposal for the voting public is simple to understand and communicate to our voting public in the year 2018. One request for 10 years for our quality and highly trained firefighters, its leadership, and committed department staff. I did a projection for each of you here. It says I projected the, I have a keystone year, and that's the year that my platform is 2017 base. The city is $221,551,064. This would be our keystone value going forward. The first year, 2019, the new 1.5 would be the city's contribution, or that would be on the millage, which would come direct here, would be $332,326, projected for a 10-year forward with a keystone value total for the 10 years would be $3,323,260. There's no way getting around the statistics, folks, so I'm just, walking that forward based on our keystone value in 2017. We believe the annual SEV up and down values will be covered. We have peaks and valleys, and we think it'll level itself out based on our current economy and my optimistic thinking here. I also project on the township, the base, the taxable value board of review is at $1,214,662,207. This would be our keystone value going forward. That's documented in the report. The first year, 2019 due 1.50 would be $1,821,993 from the township. And again, I want to point out no contributions are worked into this. I think we're just going to survive on the millage. Projected for 10 years for the keystone would be $18,219,319. The total new 2019-28 millage funding in this proposal and township would be $21,543,190. Our current budget is $20,056,740. So based on our projections, we will have enough funds, tax funds, on the millage to cover our expenditures. The fire chief, speaking for him and me, we recommend the 1.50 millage be the approved millage for the 2018 special election, if that's what it's called. These pages 15, 16, 17 that you now have are part of your June 12th, 2017 handout. We are further evaluating fund balance reserves of 15% as part of our 10-year plan. So we want to go back, and there was discussion about having a fund balance each year, and we're in the process of, that's part of our next task. We must look back to learn from the past to improve the future for our communities. That's what I need. So, the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Carl and Chief. Now we will hear from Assistant City Manager Bethany Smith and City Manager Wendy Giambiro with their presentation on the state of the fire department.
Our take is a little different, so it may be confusing to some. So be prepared for a different kind of presentation. Wipe the slate clean. So here we go. Go ahead.
Okay, Wendy and I took a little bit different approach. Our first initial response is to try to figure out what went wrong, where it went wrong, and how we fix it. And not ask too much from the taxpayers. So I did the vehicle depreciation schedule. I'm assuming everybody has it. It's the one with all the colors on it.
I got it.
Okay.
Does everybody have it there? That's it. So do we have enough to share? Okay. If we have enough to share, are we okay? Tom's signing yes. Or if not, share with Al. Tom.
Tom, you guys have this?
Yeah, sorry.
In a smaller one.
Okay,
Okay,
If we're all ready, then the presentation.
Okay, so I just wanted to let you know, first of all, that I took the numbers that Bob and Carl gave me for projected purchases in terms of the cost of new equipment. I did not change anything. I also used all of the depreciation schedules that the Yo and Yo currently use for the equipment that they're depreciating out now, okay? So the only thing I did with Carl's and Bob's numbers is I rounded up, because I like zeros, okay? So if you start at the top, the vehicle inventory is current vehicle inventory with book value. So they have other vehicles, but most of them don't have any book value left over, which means we've got some old equipment. So I didn't add those in because they really don't matter for depreciation. So the first green line is 2018 to 2035, the vehicle depreciation table for current vehicles. So starting with the 1999 heavy rescue, it's going to give you, the next column will give you the useful life in years, the 2017 book value, and then the depreciation for each vehicle out to 2035. The reason I went to 2035, because even in this current cycle of 10 years, we're going to be replacing it like 2028, and you'll want to see that you can depreciate that out. My premise is, once you start depreciating the equipment, then at the end of 2028, you'll be able to purchase that equipment outright. Okay? Everybody understand that concept? So you're going to buy a vehicle, pay $800,000 for it, you're going to depreciate it for 20 years. At the end of that 20 years, you ought to have $800,000 in your vehicle fund to pay for the new one. Okay? So that light blue or gray gives you a subtotal of current inventory depreciation. Those are the numbers that we need for the vehicles that we currently have every year starting in 2018. Then the next green bar is 2018 to 2035 vehicle depreciation table for proposed vehicles. Now these vehicles are the ones that Bob and Carl proposed in their folder, their booklet, starting with the 2018 Chevy Tahoe. I gave the useful life in years, the standard useful life per NFPA, and then the vehicles, actually the pickup trucks and support vehicles, I depreciate at 5 years instead of 6. Yeah, because that's a standard depreciation for a truck, a support truck. So you'll see those depreciation troubles going across, and then once you get into like 2023 and 2024, you can see that depreciation starts to creep up. So they'll have more money in their internal fund. So the dark blue is the total vehicle depreciation for what they would like to have and what they have currently, starting in 2019 or 2018, excuse me, all the way out to 2035. Then I broke it out for existing equipment. I've got a couple of pieces of equipment that are currently still on book value, air packs and ice and water rescue. The next green line is 2018 to 2035 equipment depreciation tables for their current equipment, which gives you the goldenrod line, which gives you what their equipment should be depreciated out at this time. The next column of green, 2018 to 2035 equipment depreciation table for proposed. These are all of the proposed pieces of equipment that Bob and Carl had put on their schedule that they'd like to purchase over the next several years. The only thing I left off was the radios, because the radios are going to be purchased by Genesee County, and it's kind of a nominal amount, especially if you start after 5 years, so I didn't want to disrupt the process and make my graph even that much bigger. So you've got auto defibrillators, air packs, turnout gear, hoses, everything that Bob has requested. The number useful life in years is for the most part 10. And then the cost of new purchase, those are the numbers that Bob had. Other than that, I rounded up. And you'll see the depreciation in salmon, the subtotal of their proposed inventory depreciation. And then at the very bottom in gray is vehicles and equipment for the full internal service fund depreciation requirement.
Thank you. I have questions after we know about writing.
Okay, so on the next bigger sheet, we'll go ahead with the assumptions first. The tax revenue assumption is that it's 1.5% increase. Yes, yes. So the tax revenue assumption is that we'll increase 1.5 every year. The city and township contribution is unchanged at 0.5 mil. Township and city residents at 0.7 mils, 0.5 for the renewal, and 0.2 for the new. Okay, so we'll start right up in the very upper left corner. What we've done is we've created 3 funds. We've created, well, we already have the general fund, we have the internal service fund, and then we've created the capital improvement fund. And that's come out of just deliberations that we, with Dennis and with the group, that there should be a separate fund to put capital improvement monies in. So that is where the 120,000 township contribution is going to go under this scenario. So at the very top, you'll see the general fund, and you'll see all taxes. Now that's all the taxes from the assumptions that were stated below. So then we go down into the meat of it. So the GD fire funding less that 120 is what will fund the general fund. And again, these are all the numbers that were previously presented from Dennis and Carl and Bob as well. So that's what will fund general fund operations. So you have all the staffing and non-staffing expenses, and you'll see down at the bottom, the expenditures, or the revenue less expenditures, are 187,000 to the positive. So then we'll go into the internal service fund. So we haven't made any transfers yet into the internal service fund. So this is, internal service fund is everything other than equipment or vehicles. So this is where all the maintenance will occur. So we'll see that that's all of those very expenses, and you'll see that revenue less expenditures is in the negative because we haven't made any transfers over into that fund. So then the next fund is that created fund, that capital improvement fund, and you'll see that there's where the 120,000 township contribution is. And then you'll see the next line below is the transfer, which we haven't made any transfers over. We didn't want to confuse or make any assumptions based on that. And summarized from the vehicle inventory is the numbers that are transferred over from the depreciation schedule that Beth created. And then you'll see the revenue less summarized vehicle inventory. So that's the difference between the contributions over less the vehicle inventory spreadsheets on Beth's side. And you'll see the total, and that's the difference there, sorry. And then the next line, which is a big block, you'll see the total needed to fund internal service fund and capital improvements funds. So that's both the internal service fund and the capital improvement funds. And again, the additional city millage wouldn't be in this current year, so this is 2017. And we're just using this year as a guide. So you'll see that the revenue less all expenditures taken from all these three funds will be in the positive. And the prior year fund balance is the combination of fiscal year's general fund balance and internal service fund balance. It is at 521,000. We'll get you to a current year fund balance. Now that's a static number because we haven't had an audit or haven't had that number audited or configured to be final. So we're looking at that, and you'll see that all the expenditures for all of the fire funds is the 1.254. And then I also included expenditures to fund balance. So you can see that the expenditures are 52.57 of the fund balance. So what we did is we went and did this across for every year up to 2029. And you can see that across, all the way over, at the end, we'll have about 1.6 million in fund balance at the end under these assumptions. Right, and if we did 1.5 under those assumptions, did 1.5 under these assumptions, it would be about 6 million in fund balance.
Is that good?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I thank everybody for their time and effort in getting this all together for us to be presented tonight. Now we will go in and we're working along on our agenda. Should we have no sidebars, please? So we want some discussion of facts. So we had everybody, I know there's a lot of material here, but what we wanted to do was start out with a discussion of the millage required to fund the future operations of the fire department. We've had 2 presentations. I will entertain questions through the chair to the appropriate individuals to be asked, and I think that should be, the start of the discussion. Kathy.
To Wendy, Madam Chair. Wendy, when you made your explanation, you were talking about millage and millage removal. I didn't hear you say that you were going to make the same contribution of $500,000 from your general fund, and I was wanting to make sure that that was inclusive of your presentation.
That's part of the assumptions at the bottom of the sheet, that the city and township will remain unchanged at 0.5, that the city and township will continue to make that contribution.
I just wanted everybody to understand that. So in your presentation, it would be the $500,000 in the village, the $500,000 from our general funds, and then we think that we can operate at 2/10 of a mil for a renewal, or for an extension. She mentioned 0.7, so that's why I said.
No, it would be 1.25 from
All right,
both.
I didn't.
It's the same thing we presented at the task force.
Okay, but tonight you just mentioned 0.2, so I just wanted to clarify it for myself.
1.25.
Okay.
Joe, did you have your hand up?
Yes. I have a question.
For?
Let me make a comment first, if you don't mind.
No.
I think all the numbers are right, but we're looking at different contributions. The city versus the township. The township,
We don't verse. It's just comparison, let's say.
okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to use the word comparison.
Okay.
Well, we're looking at 1.5 mils, okay, for the millage. And that will include that the fire department will stand alone by itself. In other words, now we're putting in another $500,000. So we're looking at not contributing another $500,000.
And again, Joe, I appreciate that, and that's also another question. I think we have to come to an agreement on what the millage has to be. We have, 0.5 contributions now from both municipalities. We have a 0.5 mil that we ask from our residents. Now we're talking about what do we need to operate the fire department to keep it whole, and what is that going to take? So at this point, I've heard from the fire chief and the treasurer of fire commission, you're looking at a 0.5 additional mills. And when the city manager and assistant city manager went and looked at all the information, they're thinking that it could just be a 0.25 additional millage that we're looking at. So that's something that, we have to work out between all of us. Yes, Joe?
Are you saying, are you taking into consideration that eliminating the 0.5 that comes out of the general funds from the township?
I'm not making any assumptions here. I'm just saying what we have now is 1 mil that we both contribute to the fire department.
Yes.
And what we're looking at, and I'm not talking about where you take yours from or where we take ours from. We have to look at what is that number, and then how you get there or how we get there is going to be discussion for your board and for our council, you know. But our assumption was, and it's been one of my assumptions, that we would contribute our, you know, our 0.5 contribution. Scott?
Yeah, and I appreciate all the work that our chief and Mr. Heiser, the volunteers, the treasurer, put into it. And also your board and Wendy for putting together the numbers. I know it took a lot of work to put those together, and they're very well organized. I'm not sure, you know, if I wanted some opportunity to take a look with our board at the two sets of numbers and just see where, I mean, somewhere in the middle there, maybe there's where we want to be, but I'm not sure I'm prepared to say what I think the millage needs to be. I don't know.
And that wasn't the question today, right. Scott. It was like, here are the presentations.
Right.
Here's what we have to look at.
So I guess what I'm getting to is, you know, where we want to go tonight on this discussion, because we want to talk about the differences between the two presentations. There's a lot of these items under topics for the task force. I don't know if we want to talk about those tonight or where we go with the discussion, because obviously we received quite a bit of information in both packets. I don't know if we all have time to digest it during the presentations or where we go.
And some of it wasn't all presented. You know, we got Wendy and Beth's, you know, sheets out to everybody, and we have the task force, so the task force is seeing all of these numbers, but for especially 3 on your board, this is a first blush for you, and we only have 2 people on, you know, who are on the task force from our council. So for, you know, 4 of our council members, it's you know, it's a first look for. It's a first look at these numbers too. I have no problem, that's up for the discussion too. I need some input from both. You know, if you want more clarification as to the numbers, this is the time we're all here. And everybody's here. It's not just the task force to ask, you know, the question. So I'm asking for members of my council, if you have questions on this topic, do you want to do it here tonight? Do you want to bring it to a council meeting? Whatever. I see no rush to rush this through and to get someplace. Your board, if you have questions that you'd like clarification for tonight, or if you want to take it back to your board meeting, I'm fine. I just laid out some of the questions that we could have discussion for, but I'm open to however everybody's comfortable. It's a lot of information.
I have a few questions on the information, if I could.
Yes,
for example,
sure.
on the depreciation, I guess I'm just wondering where the difference is between what I haven't had a chance to compare, but what is the main difference between the depreciation that you used and the one that
It's not too far off. On his latest depreciation skip, on his latest depreciation report, this particular capital fund, fire department capital fund report, the depreciation is very similar to mine, within a few dollars of each other. The one I had concerns with, and the reason I started this, is Carl and I are both accountants, so we had a philosophical difference, big surprise, about Carl was deciding how much we were going to have to spend over the 10-year period, and then dividing that by 10 years to get a depreciation number on the first paperwork. And the way I look at it is, when you buy equipment in the middle of the 10-year period, you're not worrying about depreciating the first years 1 through 5, because you really can't depreciate a vehicle until after you purchase it. So that's why I broke it out the way I did. But ultimately, we ended up with after Carl did this projected cash flows, we have very similar close depreciation amounts.
Again, 1 second.
the other thing is we're projecting, you know, growth 1.5%, what have you. My question would be for our chief and Mr. Heiser is, you know, after 5 years of 1.5% growth, and 10 years, what have you. I mean, at what point do you have to add more? I don't know if we do need to add more, or we just use more hours from the part-time. Is that kind of the plan as let's say that we have, we do get that, maybe
That would be the initial plan. We'd have to take a look at the request for services. I mean, how much of an increase in request for services we had, and would cause delays in response times because they're out on another call, we have to call somebody else in. So I would say we'd have to do that. But initially, yes, it would be part-time staff. We would be asking them to boost up our numbers.
And I know we're depreciating the equipment 20 years, but is that realistic? I don't know.
20 years is about the maximum for the NFPA. What the NFPA recommends is anything after 10 years is put into reserve status. Then after 15 years to 20 years, you're really looking at replacing. Nothing is to be used over 25 years in the HVAC. And once, the key thing we have to remember is we have it on the schedule for the vehicle to be replaced. Let's say 2019 is one of them. But actually, in order to buy that truck, to get delivered in 2019, you have to start planning for it today, because the build process itself takes about a year. The planning stages, everything else, depending on what you want, could take another year.
And now, well, Chief, do you have another? With that, it's like, I got it that you have to order it.
Right.
So how much do you have to put down when you do an order? I mean, how much do they require?
Well, what I've seen so far has been about half down. We put
I
them
have
all the
that.
time.
Okay,
And
that's good
finance.
information.
Approximately $400,000.
Depending on the vehicle.
Right, depending on the initial cost of the
$100,000
vehicle.
vehicle. Jamie?
One thing I think we came to an agreement on since the last meeting is the reason why Carl's numbers and Beth's numbers are so similar on that depreciation is we've agreed that the number is 20, we agreed this number is 6. We're all using the same number. Before we were talking about 10 years and 15 years and other things, but now we're all working off the same assumptions. That's why it's so close.
And the other thing that we had with the last millage, the assumption was 22 years. Because at that time when it first went in, it was a question of having 25-year depreciation. And then it actually, they came to an agreement on 22 years, and now we've shortened that to 20 years. So that's a little historical of how we were doing things. So.
Oh, Beth. I have a question, Carl. On your report, your history report, you got it?
We're at page 15?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, okay, you got it.
Yes, go ahead.
Am I to assume on 4 and 5 that you are projecting 0 growth for the next 10 years in both the taxable values for the city and the township?
In my, for the point 3 or 4 you referred to?
4 and 5.
Oh, 4 and 5. What I was looking at is, in my opinion, based on your taxable values and your SEV as of 2017, I'm using that as a starting point right there. And I'm assuming there will be some ups and some downs, which we've experienced over the past 10 years ourselves. So I use that as a starting point, and I'm just projecting that out, saying in the end it'll be close to that same number. I did do a projection showing a 10% increase overall because I think the number would be unattainable at this time based on the economies. I certainly wanted to increase it. I'm not sure what the amount of the increase would be, and I would look forward to perhaps a recommendation from the city if what your projection would be, as an example, for 19, 20, 21, on up. We had just a short period of time to sort of get this together. Just like I said about the 15% reserve, we're going to look at that, but the conservative projected growth in our SEV and our taxable value, I would humbly request if you could provide that for me, then this can change perhaps.
Okay, well, in Wendy's enclosure, the one that she discussed with us, we both agreed with Dennis that 1.5 was conservative for growth for the next 10 years, 1.5%.
Continued growth is what you're saying.
Because you got to remember, Carl, not only do you have taxable value growth with the CPI, but you also have added growth with the development. So there's a twofold growth.
Okay,
So
1.5?
1.5 we were all comfortable with.
Okay, percent. Okay, I would look at that again.
Yeah, and that's the top line, it's all there.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, Earl, and then I'll get to you, Tim.
Yeah, we just had a question. I know we initially said 1.5, but I don't think, we've got to look at it because we had Pulte in there, and Pulte's built out a number of homes so fast. Nobody builds as fast as Pulte, and he's gone. So I don't think we can hit the 1.5. You might be able to, but I don't think we'll be able to. So we're still considering maybe going back to 1, or we're not sure where we're going to be. But we don't think 1.5 is going to work for us.
And again, that was a discussion that we had, so
Well, I know.
we went with, yeah, well, and we did it with, you know, your superintendent and
Right.
it was us, and we were comfortable with the 1.5 for those projections. So that's another thing to talk about with both,
Right,
you know,
because
council
that
and
would change
board
it
to see,
completely.
you know, where that comfort level is and what those numbers flush out to be and how that changes, you know, everything.
So, Earl, just with the paperwork that Carl gave us, from 1994 to 2017, the township, with subtracting all the losses, had 88.53% growth.
I know, but what I'm saying is Pulte, without Pulte, we probably wouldn't have been, Dennis can comment on this, but without Pulte, we wouldn't have not been breaking even. We'd be we would have lost, okay?
Well,
So they are gone now, so that's why.
Pulte is part of it, but don't forget you've got the CPI that comes
Well, I
out
know,
of the taxable benefit.
I know.
Okay. So we all have to just look at it and be comfortable in what we're looking at. Yes, Ken?
At the last meeting, Dennis said that was, the 1.5 was a really, really aggressive number on our part. It wasn't a
Well, I guess we'll ask
mainstream
Dennis.
number. That's,
Dennis, we had the meeting, we talked about what we thought was a comfortable number, I thought. Not aggressive, not too depressed, you know, and it was the 1.5. So if there's a change in that, we just need to be abreast of that.
I think 1.5 might be aggressive, but I'm also, I mean, if we're going to base it on 1.5, should we get 1%? I mean, I can't prognosticate any more than you can to say what it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
We know that personal property tax affects us a lot more than it affects you guys. It has as much, you know, get hit on personal property like we do. It's a huge number for us. We know we're going to lose that for another 5 years in a row. Pulte leaves, and we know that we just lost, that was 100 plus homes every year. Without Pulte, we probably would have been negative for the last 4 years. So I mean, is it, when we put it at 1.5 as a standard, I mean, I don't know, if 1% better than 1.5, I don't know that it makes it bigger difference.
But as long as we're just on the, you know, same page, and if we change those, then we need to go back and change it, but at least we have to be consistent in going forward for both of us.
I mean, we can run it at 1%, take a look at it and see what,
Yeah.
you know, the city council's comfortable with.
Yep, that's fine.
okay, my question is, getting back into the internal service fund, with the $20,000 capital outlay for the buildings, is that $20,000 a piece? So it's $40,000
No.
contribution, or you think that with $20,000 we could maintain and put together a continuous plan for the buildings?
Now that's also part of a discussion, Ken, you know.
What was this? That's what I'm trying to.
No, yeah, and we talked about it. Chief gave us a projection on what he thought the fire commission should have and pay for. He had it down what the city should pay for and what the township should pay for. So with those numbers as they were, 20,000, I think we all felt was a very comfortable place to be. Now, we never finished that conversation, if you remember, at the previous meeting. And we still have, you know, and that's a discussion for, and we touched on it at the task force. We didn't delve into it, but it is another question, because at the end of the day, there was a lot of money that was needed, but it was who was paying for it. You see what I mean? So that 20,000 works very well for what the chief originally put out for the fire commission portion of what needed to be done at each, you know, at 1, 2, and 3. The question becomes, do we feel that the numbers were there were good for what the city should be paying, for what the township would be paying? Because at the end of the day, we're all paying, it just depends what pot it's coming out of, or what pot it has to go into in order to come out of. So that, I don't know.
Can we delve into this then, or is this the proper time to delve into it?
I have that as a topic for the task force to delve into later on, and I don't know, it's your pleasure. We were talking about going through, we have time. So if
whoever ended up paying for the kitchen upgrades at building station, what was it, 1?
The fire commission.
Fire
it
commission
came out of
ended up
their $15,000.
paying? Well, since we're there, how come the fire commission paid for it instead of the city?
Because that was that was one of the things that we had talked about, and it wasn't totally decided on who should be responsible for what goes on in the building. You know, if that's a fire commission responsibility, because we talked about the buildings themselves would be, if I got this correct, that the buildings themselves would be each, you know, the township and the city's responsibility. We talked about, you know, the utilities. We didn't get down to, you know, if you're having a fire station and have your firefighters, they have to be housed somewhere. That, you know, seems to me anyway to be something that the fire commission, it's their responsibility. You know, we're all paying.
Well, I understand.
But it's there, you know, and that's how that was singled out, and that was kind of what the chief did with certain things, but we never got down to the absolute of each item that was presented to us.
Well, what are we going to do? My question is, when we were talking about this,
yes,
the task force is one thing, but you know, the public is the one that's going to make the decision on the millage.
no question.
But getting back to, I know that we were discussing that it was going to be all, if Kathy made the example that if you're a renter and your landlord had to fix something, then that would be the responsibility of the owner of the building. The kitchen that had to be fixed would be then taken care of by the landlord. I know that that was one of the examples, if I remember correctly. I know for a fact that the township's still paying for all the utilities at the fire station that's connected to ours. That still has been broken out, where the fire commission is supposed to be paying for their share of that. So, I mean, we can't have it both ways. So I think what we need to do is, you know, make an agreement, who's going to pay for what, and simple thing as that. That would be a good start. What do you think, Mr. Supervisor?
If the mayor recognizes me, I'll speak with it.
Yes, that's fine.
I think, you know, I think it's something that we do need to flesh out, whether it's here or the task force, but I think, you know, there's a number of details. I mean, who's going to pay for those buildings also factors into how we structure the millage. Exactly. It's going to be baked into the millage, and we need to look at that. If we're going to pay for them individually, then that's another consideration. I'm not sure we have the time tonight to debate it, and if those discussions are better or if we're talking about past expenditures or moving forward too. I guess it depends on which angle we're taking.
And I do think maybe it would be good to bring to our individual boards and bring the chief's sheet and discuss it. And then we can come back and say, you know, we have a disagreement, we have a philosophical, I mean, let's have that, you have that philosophical discussion if that works for your board. And that works for us. I, you know, hear from you guys what to do, but that could be a discussion we have, and we bring it back, you know, to the task force and to the next meeting.
One of the things, if I may, you know, looking at the topics for the task force,
and those are fluid.
Yeah, what Mr. Thomas has mentioned really kind of factors into whatever the agreement we come up with, too. I mean, the agreement that we come up with is going to have those details in it.
And if you see A is just that. A is building costs, how should costs be allocated? Yeah. I mean.
But I'm saying that there's nowhere on the list that we need to look at hammering out what that agreement is going to be too. In terms
Oh,
of,
yeah, well, we have a few things to get to,
right. But
you know.
that will be baked in, into that.
And that's the A on this for the task force meeting. First thing on the agenda for us, so.
I guess I'm not to beat that horse, but what I'm saying is we need to have on there what the agreement is going to look like, because there's some things in the agreement that are going to be in the agreement that aren't necessarily on this list of topics.
Okay, clarify for me.
Right now, we have an agreement that was written when the millage was put in place, right?
Yeah.
So we need to look at that agreement. I don't
For
know.
sure.
So.
Yeah, Kathy?
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I looked at the booklet that I got tonight in front of me, and page 2 is missing, which is a continuation of what, you have a page 2, I don't have one in mind, and that relates to,
Right.
no, they're both,
1 and 2.
1 and 2 are breakdown, 2 pages, a list of things that the city, you might have page 1, I want to make sure you have page 2, because I only have 1.
But that's the problem, Kathy, is like if you look at Fire Station 1 on page 1, it says, general upgrade 18,000, but they used 8,000 and change, and it says the payers the Grand Lake City, but yet the Grand Lake City didn't pay for it, the Fire Commission paid for it. So where it says completed action item?
Yes.
It says the Grand Lake City was supposed to pay for it, but yet the Fire Commission paid for it. I mean, this is not accurate. And I'm trying to figure out where we're going to be able to do all this for $20,000 a year to take care of all the buildings. It just doesn't seem feasible. I assume it's.
Yes.
Somebody gave me an updated correct one, it was page, this is not page 2.
Well, I think there's no question that needs to be discussed.
Right.
Go ahead, Kathy.
We went through as a task force, pages 1 and 2, and thank you whoever gave me one of the new ones tonight that does have page 2. I personally, it hasn't been thoroughly discussed by the township, but personally, everything that's on here, FC for Fire Commission, GBC for city, GBT for township, I personally agree with. And the other thing I came to a realization of is, let's assume smaller numbers. The city had a list that added up to 30,000. This one is much bigger. And to try and come to a satisfactory answer in my value system, I said, okay, suppose the same situation existed in Station 2 and Station 3. Doesn't matter what it is. We're just talking about, we have 3 stations and the same thing had to be done in 3 stations. And the city is, in this proposal, some of the discussion of the task force was, the city doesn't want to pay for this or this. When I thought, gee, if we followed the recommendation of the chief and we each paid for our own, then to me that was fair. When I said, well, okay, if everybody shared all the costs of all the changes that were 30,000, guess what? The city then, we end up with that 80-20 split, so the township taxpayers are paying more. And I believe that when the taxpayers are paying the same, we're treating them all the same. So I thought the chief's discussion for pages 1 and 2 and what he designated being the landlords, I'm willing to go with it. But then I'm saying, you know, if we put on bedrooms and kitchens and stuff at stations 2 and 3, we're the landlords and we're paying for it. and I'm fair with that. That's why I feel no problem with this list and the city paying what is proposed. Just my own opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's, we might have a whole bunch of different opinions, and I do think it probably should be discussed at council meeting, looking at these, and your board meeting, and then let's get together and see where your consensus lies, where our consensus lies, and how those numbers then lie in you know, in those terms. And is everybody okay with that from both groups, or?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm asking.
Yes.
Because we need to have an idea of what you would like being done. So I'm hearing from council, you want to have a separate meeting and go over this and then come back. Your board, am I hearing that?
What do you guys think? I mean,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. We'll just go through it and tell them what we want, and we'll just compare notes.
I think you know, there's a lot of information here, not to speak for everybody, because many of my board members can speak up or raise their hand, but what I'm seeing is we need to digest some of the information and get back together again.
No question, but we have to start, it's a good starting point. It was presented to the task force. It's now being presented to everybody at the same time, in the same way. We can all take that back, and I think, you know, as we look at the agenda, we have discussion of facts. Well, we need a little bit more discussion to come back with what the millage truly will be. And I think that still can be fleshed out more at the task force, but if not, it will be fleshed out at our board meetings, and we come back. We can bring that to the task force and then bring it back here. However, you know, we do have discussions together, so we can talk about this, but I think that does need to be discussed at each, you know, at each board level. So I think that's going back. Point B, review the election dates for the ballot initiatives. Well, we've got a lot going on here, but maybe we can talk about philosophically how we're going forward with, you know, what we're looking at. We've had some things like at the task force meeting, it was like maybe whatever that millage ask is, we could ask for that to go longer than the renewal. That was a question that came up. That I think will fall back into A as we come to it, but we were looking at, Beth, do you want to speak to what dates we have? Because special election did come up, and you know that costs a lot of money for everybody. And Beth, would you like to speak to what days we have, you know, for without cost to either the city or the township?
Well, sure. For 2018, there's 3 election dates available by law, May, August, and November. Those are all dates prior to the expiration of the current millage and dates that could be utilized for the new millage. The May election would be on us because there's no, at this current time, nobody else is asking for a May election. And even if we were to put a question on the ballot, we'd have to pay for the election. On the other hand, the August and November elections, they're already happening. And the primary for the gubernatorial in August and the November 2018 election, the gubernatorial election, those are both availability if you have ballot questions put on there. If you did them both in 18, 19, you could all put some new millage on and then renew the old one. In 2019, you also have potential for May, August, and November. I know that the township doesn't have a 19 election necessarily, but if we wanted to, we still have time in August, May, August, and November to ask the question, and then both units of government could put that on their 19 December bill. So there's 6 elections that can be done. So, you know, it's not like it's absolutely in a hurry.
So May, August, November 2019, we have the elections.
We have an election in November of 2019. But May and August is always available. If something were to happen and we had to pay for a special election, we could.
Beth, for the,
That's it. We're fine.
Beth, I think if you ask Earl, if we have our December bills going out, so November of 2019, in my opinion, but ask Earl, would not be adequate for him to do all the preparations for our bill.
Well, we did it the last time. And we voted on it in November, and we both put it on the tax bill in December. But that's the last one, Kathy. That's not even the first one that's available.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's willing to
wait
push
till November 19th.
push this out, right? I mean, we want to get it out there and, taken care of way before that time. We're just looking at, for us, it's like to have an election where you have to pay extra money to have it. It's like, we're not too interested in doing that.
and philosophically, the nice thing about the gubernatorial primary and the gubernatorial election is you're going to get a good portion of your constituents in voting it, and that's a good way to say to them, we want this. If they have it and they vote it, and you get 35–40% of your people, then you know that it was a good decision to make.
Madam Chair, question to the entire group. I might suggest that we just try to come to an agreement on a date that we would all like and work a timetable back that works through approval of the language so that we can march down on a timetable. So as we know, we're having meetings after meeting and back and forth, that we're watching a timeline so that whatever the election is we all agree on, we're marching to that time period so that we can keep it in front of us.
I would say looking at this August 2018 is a really good jump-off point. If we need it, we can make a collection. It could help us to cover that gap where we do see a gap. And but Scott,
we probably need to discuss this a little bit more with our board, but I think our discussion has been to have one millage and not split them up. And then also that we would be looking at trying to wrap up the language by the end of this year so that we could go from May. Because I think kind of our discussion, we haven't had any formal motion on it, but I think the consensus amongst our board is trying to wrap up the language by the end of this year.
well, wrapping up the language by the end of the year, I think is quite doable. But May we don't have, right? We don't have an election, so that's not gonna.
We don't need it either.
Yeah, well, and we can bring it back, we can have that discussion, but it's a lot of money, so, pardon? Oh, sorry.
The election?
That's the next question, so let's just get through something. We still have time, we're moving along on our schedule. So at any rate, that's another question that will be fleshed out at our council meeting, at your board meeting, as to dates. Special election, if you're interested in doing that, your board, and
So did you want to talk about those things?
well, we talked about the dates. I don't know, because again, I think we need to discuss it, because I don't think we're willing to do a special election.
I just have one question.
Yeah, John.
Approximately in the city, how much does it cost to run an election like that? And I guess I'd ask the same question about the township out of curiosity.
Well, it normally costs about $6,000 or $7,000 for us, but with the new equipment, I'm gonna have to have more people on this next year, so, I wanna say around 10.
I think for the township, it would be 20,000, and we're going to have the same equipment as Beth, and in discussing it with my deputy, we'd like the opportunity to have a special election in May where we have 17 precincts. It would give us enough time to have those people go through a very important election to us, but get familiar with all the hard new equipment and have it run smoothly and be geared up for August and November, and avoid having August and November come up in 2018 and the state and the county come up with a laundry list or a two-page ballot. No, it won't be a two-page with heart. But a long list of items that are also going to be asking for renewals or millage. The road commission, when we brought it up at the clerk's meeting, the county checked with the road commission, and they're looking at putting a millage on countywide for the road.
So that $20,000 with the new equipment, or $20,000
That's
plus?
$20,000 total for us, for all of, you know, for all of our precincts, because we consolidate ours. We have 8 locations, so where we have 2 or 3 locations, we run one precinct, but it would allow us the opportunity to staff it and help all of the people. We have to staff over 100 people, give them a, you know, a running start for August.
Scott?
Yeah, and Clerk Lane brings up a good point, making sure that the equipment is running right. I know we had a machine malfunction or something in one of the last election, and previous, it was in the township, when the township election was going on. And I mean, just a small glitch ends up becoming a huge issue. I mean, we have the news and everybody else out. We don't want to have that kind of, I mean, the potential for using new equipment.
On a really busy election.
Yeah, on a busy election. Plus, you know, we don't want to be somewhere down at the bottom of the ballot with something as important as a new fire range. So, again, our board hasn't taken a formal position. I think it's a
And I think
consensus,
that's,
though.
again, you know, one of those things, I guess, which would go down to, because it looks like we're sending discussion, we've started discussion, it's going to be sent back to each, you know, constituent, you know, group. Will the ballot initiative be tie-barred for the city and the township? And then the question to me, one question to be answered, if they wanted to do a May special election, do we necessarily have to do it at the same time in order to be tie-barred?
Or do you have to have our language?
Tie-bar language, you could do it in a, no, you have to do it at the same time. Okay, clarification, so that's a good thing for us to
You
know.
don't have to have our language.
It doesn't,
It's just a matter of that theirs passes when ours passes.
okay, but tie-bar language has to be at the same time. Okay, that's clarification.
Right.
Kathy?
Again, historically, when we've had a tie-bar language, it means if both don't pass, then we have to do it again. And my personal preference, I haven't talked to the board, but I would say I prefer that they not be tie-barred because of the expense we have to go through with 17 precincts if something failed. So I'm saying I'd rather we have the same language, the same ballot question, but not tie-barred, personally, as it were.
Well, I think that again is a discussion that we would have to have, you know.
For those of us at the city, Kathy, that we got burned at Parks and Rec.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we know that.
I know that, I was
painful.
there, I know it is, and that's why it would be an additional election for both sides when you tie-bar, and that's why I personally want the same language on the ballot, but I don't want the language to be tie-barred so that if something, and I don't want anything to happen, I don't want it tie-barred because I don't want to have to face the possibility of, you know, this time I'm hoping we're passing it and everything goes well just from the expense point of view.
For the good of the group, we had a Parks Recreation question. The question was not tie-barred. The city passed it, the township did not. So the city collected 10 years worth of Parks and Recreation money that the township did not.
Right.
And it did work out, but it was.
I was chairman of Parks and Rec. We worked it
Yeah,
out.
and I was on Parks and Rec too, but it was not an easy situation to get through. And if at all possible, I would not like to see that happen again.
But also for the public, that money was segregated, so it isn't
Yes,
like.
I managed that.
Right, that the funding got lopsided. Anyways,
No, you're right, Scott. It did not get lopsided. It was just, it would have been a better picture with it all.
Right, it came and it took several years to get it, you know, almost 10 years. It took several years to work out all of those, you know, things. So it's just another. What was that, Dennis?
The problem with this issue is that we really don't have a choice. I mean, we can't say, well, you know what, we're going to go back to part-time fire department if it doesn't pass. If it doesn't pass, guess what? We need to scramble and regroup and go at it again. I don't know where we get the funds from if we don't pass the millage. So we have to pass this. And the sooner we do it, the more comfortable we are with knowing that we have a fire department at its current strength. Or we go back to response times and look at that and see if we won't mind 12-minute response times.
That's
so,
Boy Scouts.
So bucket brigade.
Oh. Well, anyway, I think, you know, of our discussion, our issues to, it's going back to each board to, you know, flush all of these issues out and see where the comfort level is.
Mayor, are we pretty good on if we can have a timeline? I appreciate the gentleman's comment that, you know, that
no question
would it be
about
okay
it.
if we had a timeline for wrapping up the language by the end of this year? And so regardless of
I don't No, I don't see that being an issue. I think we need to, once we get these things in line, once we get A discussed and a decision made, I think, you know, the rest will fall into place. You know, that's how if anybody else has something they want to say or they think there's more of a problem, please speak up. Now, this is just not my show.
Well, Mayor, I think, you know, so far we've looked at the numbers and we're going to be able to, you know, see if there's any differences in the assumptions or the values. The numbers are the numbers. I think the next issues we're looking at are more philosophical on where we stand on things. So I think that may be the more difficult discussion, actually.
And that will be the discussion and then coming back to each other. Which would bring us, I mean, are there any other questions here from either board that you'd like clarified before we take this back to our own meetings? And ours will be at the next meeting. We will be discussing all of this. So, you know, that, well, and let's go through this again. Topics for the task force. You know, they're here. You know, at this point, you know, I'm open to whatever everybody is comfortable with. Do you want to bring it back to the task force? Do you think that that will be, you know, a waste of everybody's time because it's going to have to then have this joint meeting and then, like we did today, segregate it back out? Or do you just want to bring it to, you know, these questions?
I think the task force, in my opinion, I don't know, you know, what my members or yours feel, but I think, you know, trying to hash these things out with what do we have for, you know, 20 people in the room is going to be an all-night affair. But I think it's going to be tough enough for a task force, but I think the task force, at least from our board, can carry forward the wishes of our board. We can meet and discuss these issues.
I'm fine with that. That was my question. If you wanted to do it at, you know, council board level and not come to the task force, I'm fine. I've been very happy with the way the task force is going, but I'm just asking the question tonight for everybody sitting here together, because the task force only has, you know, 2 of our members and, you know, 3 of your members, and then Scott when you came, so that made it, you know, the 4. So however anybody's comfortable. Pardon?
How many meetings has this task force had that's?
We've had 2.
2?
Yeah.
And that's the one from Friday and the one from?
2 Thursdays. 2 Thursdays. We were 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So we came, we met, we, you know, we need this information, got back new information, we presented it. This is being presented to you tonight. So, you know, I think it's worked. I just listed.
I think you covered quite a bit of ground. I mean, looking at all the data you're running.
Yeah, and that's bringing back to you. So we have 3 things that are for the boards to do. Now, if everybody's, you know, do you want to prioritize looking at this for the task force? I'm open. We just listed, you know, what we thought would be good topics. So how do you want to prioritize? Because the task force can't do, I don't think, all of these in one evening.
I think they can look at it and see, there might be some logical order that they see to which ones they want to tackle.
And that's, I'm open to the discussion here, and we can just make it 1, 2, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 issues. I mean, I'll go take a look them over. We'll give everybody like 5 minutes, and then I can call for, okay, how many want this, and we'll just prioritize it that way.
Or just leave it up to the task force to decide which ones they want.
Well, I would like to send it.
With you, I think this is an issue for the task force to prioritize it. They've been working on information, they have information, and they know what direction to go.
Well, and that's not totally true, Lisa. I think we have these things here. I don't want to have another meeting of the task force saying, oh, well, how should we do this? Let's narrow down a few things that we're going to tackle, at least at the next meeting, and have 2 or 3 of these, items that we're going to address.
I think there, one of them could be a meeting. I really don't know. I mean,
Well, that's what I'm asking. And if you want to prioritize it, one could be a meeting. Let's at least prioritize it and set that up for the task force.
I'm open to letting them choose.
And I'll let the people who are on the task force please speak up. For
Mrs. Mayor,
yes.
I think it'd be more important for the members of the task force to set their own agenda instead of us putting a golden hand over them. I agree totally with you, Lori. Lisa, I'm so sorry. Lisa, I totally agree with you.
That's
Okay.
I have no problem with going through all of these at all. But now, you and Beth and Wendy and Saul and Julie are all going to come to the task force meeting. Chris, I'm sorry. Yeah. Should know that, right? So, I mean, the 5 of you are going to come as a task force to the next meeting, right?
Yeah, we're on the task force, so
Right.
yeah,
So
we'll be
those
there.
5, and then three of us from the board plus
And
Dennis.
Scott, yeah.
Are you going to come too?
Possibly come.
Okay, well, when you're doing it, I need to post it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's basically 5 and 5 as far as the composition of the task force. It isn't 2 and 3, it's 3 elected officials and 3 elected officials plus the staff.
Not voting.
Yeah, I'm just support staff, Kathy.
Yeah.
That, you're very inclusive.
I'm just support.
Anyway, I'm comfortable with however. Carl.
Yes, thank you. I'm following the process we're talking about. Item A is the building costs. I think I'd like the council and the trustees to give us their version of where it goes. I'm tired of talking about it, so to speak. This is, whether it's the township, the commission, in other words, page 1 and 2, it's been out there a while, and rather than make it an agenda to discuss, perhaps we can have some direction from both so we can finally scratch this off the list. That's to move forward is what
Yeah, I hear you. Scott.
I think what we want to do, I don't know what time is it?
Oh, we're okay. It's 5 after 8.
Okay. I mean, we could go through that and give our version of it, or we can take it back to our boards and come up. I envision these items for the task force. Their boards are going to have a discussion on them, and then the task force members are going to bring them to the group. And if there's some disagreement, they're going to try and come up with a consensus, view that maybe we disagree on this, but maybe there's some things we can do to change it so that we do agree. And that's where the beauty of having a smaller group, coming both with our individual opinion, your boards and our board, coming together and saying, well, they don't exactly mesh, but coming up with a way to make them mesh.
Okay, so a question for going forward would be, we have our meeting in July. So you have your meeting?
We have 3 meetings in July.
Okay,
First
so
one is
at
the
11th.
11. Ours is the next day. If you could go over some of these things, and we'll go over them, and then we will prioritize. You prioritize, and then we'll come together for the task force what we should attack first. I think that would make it
Well, I'm saying rather than us just prioritize, I'm saying we're going to give our task force guidance on all these issues. So that's what the task force wants. That's why they're going to know our board's consensus on each one of those issues.
Well, that's what I was getting to when we were
You were
talking
saying
about.
prioritize, I'm taking it a step further and saying.
And that's fine, because we're going to all discuss A, B, and C, the discussion of the facts, to come up with things, and then we're also going to discuss at our next meeting, then A through F. And we're going to come to some kind of agreement and see if we all are on the same page at the task force. Fine with me. If everybody is okay with that?
And we'll be able to give Carl direction.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, no problem. So, with that, again, we're ahead of schedule. Are there any questions for the good of everybody that anybody has here? Carl?
I just want to make sure that in my proposal, which is the page 15, because I went through this, and I just want to point out to, on my point number 3, what I was directing here is the 1.50 millage would be the funding we would rely on, and this would not, we would not require contributions that have been proposed by everybody here. I'd like to get away from those contributions.
I think that's a discussion for the boards.
Well, I'm just pointing at
I
very
appreciate that.
distinctly here.
Yeah, I know, I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do we want to pick a date?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
I would remind everybody that Mondays work best for the last meeting for this one to be set up, so if you're looking at your calendars, you might want to look at Mondays.
But that one, well, that's right, if we're gonna have a task force meeting, I guess that's the, you know, if we're gonna want a task force meeting in there, that's gonna have to have precedence over that. So. Yeah, okay, yeah. So
Because I have family coming in town.
the 7th or the 14th? Everybody of August?
No, my family's coming in.
Well, then we're going
Not when they come from Texas, they'll be here leaving on the 13th.
Okay, do I have anybody else that has?
Well, Kathy's family's coming.
No. Am I in the right year? Am I in the right year? August
August 21st and then April building.
I don't know, I heard dissension over here for August 21st.
That's a fundraiser for Girl Scouts golf out.
Everybody's trying to get in vacations in August, maybe we look at.
It might give the task force time to take a couple of weeks.
Yeah, which wouldn't be bad if we could get some walking orders for July. So, okay.
The first one's committed to Labor Day.
11th or 18th? 11th or 18th?
The 11th? 11th. September, we have everybody, let's look at one date, everybody all at one time. September 11th. Yeah, it'd be a good day. Do we have, everybody's looking at their calendars, do we have some consensus here? We got it?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you tell us where to come.
Yeah, all right. I will try and schedule the meeting here on September the 11th. people, a
At
few people
6:30.
have stated they like this environment better than the senior center, so I will notify Beth when I get it scheduled.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. So September 11th, 6:30 here.
Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
just out of curiosity, how many task force meetings will there be between now and then?
Well, I think, judging by this, maybe if the task force people could wait at the, because we didn't set up one at the last meeting. So if those, if we could just get together for a minute after this to set up a task force for after July, 11th, when we have, I mean, the week of, the 14th of July, so we could come up with something, huh? Or, yeah.
All right, approval, I think. We're meeting on
Yeah, we're meeting on the 12th. So, yeah, okay. There are no other questions for the good of everybody? Joe, what? Joe, no, I'll get you out. Joe.
Did you give a time on September the 11th?
I sure did, it's 6:30. Yeah, Al?
I just had make a motion to adjourn.
And I would support that.
Okay. And I,
All those in favor?
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Please eat some of the sandwiches.